Joined now by David Costa, who's Dean at Robert Kennedy College. Well, if I can get my words out. He's live from the Zürich bourse. Thanks very much for joining us to discuss some of these issues today, David. We can't get away from this bailout story,
Rebecca.
can we? The bailout really is dominating the headlines still. It looks like the markets are kind of increasingly cautious about this deal. Do you think it was the right thing to do? Do you think it is going to provide a bit of stability to these markets?
Well, actually, it was the only possible thing to do. Yes, it's true that there is some debate at the moment whether this plan is the right one. We have seen it yesterday with Ben Bernanke and the Secretary Paulson discussing the matter. And yes, there have been some delays, but eventually the US will approve the plan. That's my forecast. And it was the only possible way to get out of this. And I think the market would sooner or later react. We have already seen now some of the Japanese banks going bargain hunting, and even Warren Buffett now seizing a great opportunity. So that's normally a signal that something will go back. So I think it was the right thing to do, definitely.
Yeah, and David, it's more here in Asia, especially with Warren Buffett getting that stake in Goldman Sachs going into the financial sector in the U.S. Would that suggest that we are probably at the bottom right now in terms of markets?
Yes, I think that what happened, a lot of those banks, probably including Lehman, tried to get Warren Buffett in investing, and Warren, as always, has picked the best of the bunch and at the right timing. So I think at the moment, given what the U.S. has in plan, the big bailout, removing this toxic asset and putting it into another entity, whether it's Fannie or the other entities that have already absorbed, I think it's a very good idea. And I think now, if you go through selective opportunities, you can find some good deals. But again, you have to be very selective and pick really the ones which can give you a return.
When we're trying to choose these selective opportunities?
How do you choose them? I mean, I would really go for those institutions which are less affected by the actual recession there is all over. You know, for instance, if we look at this Japanese bank which now acquired Morgan Stanley, or around to acquire 10 to 20% of Morgan Stanley, I'm talking about Mitsubishi, we see that the bank is still in excess of, just for the first quarter, 200 odd billions of yen of profit. So in an environment where pretty much every bank or many of those big banks are losing money, having the few which are still making some money, notably less than last year, than last quarter, it can give you some opportunity. And the same is what Warren did. He went for Goldman because it's a good franchise, a good brand, and they're not largely affected. They're still in profit and returning profit. So he went for, you know, both fundamental analysis, but also the long-term prospect.
Now, while the focus right now is on rescuing the financial system in the U.S. and preventing that damage from spreading, there are still some weaknesses in the general global economy that haven't quite been addressed yet, right? Do you think then at some point we're going to start seeing a focus shift back to those worries again? And if that's the case, where is the light at the end of the tunnel then?
Well, in general terms, if we look at equities, I don't think there is an end of the tunnel this year. We're still going to see a bit of bumpy road ahead for at least till the end of the year. It's difficult to predict when will be the real end of the tunnel, but the very good start is really getting rid of this problem with the subprime situation in the United States and this financial crisis. So as soon as we get rid of that, then we can start to look at the economy, and it's probably going to catch up pretty quickly. We have seen the first rally when they announced it, and it's very early to say that if it's the end of the tunnel, but I would say probably first quarter next year we're going to see more opportunities if everything is done right and if this plan works.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, David. David Costa, Dean at the Robert Kennedy College.